our next topic in this course is Excel. The first chapter there, chapter 13 on page 422 in your book, talks about creating a workbook. Alright, a spreadsheet is a group of values and other data organized into rows and columns. Companies use spreadsheets to track budgets and inventory and to help create a plan for future business. You can use a spreadsheet to create a personal budget or to balance a checkbook. You can create a spreadsheet using Microsoft Excel 2013, or just Excel, which is used to enter, analyze, and present quantitative data. By using Excel and taking advantage of the powerful calculations it can perform, you can automate tasks that would otherwise take many hours. Alright, so let's talk about the parts of the window. We're going to create a new blank workbook. If you've pulled up Excel, we're going to create a blank workbook. So that we can go in and look at the parts of Excel. Excel stores a workbook that is currently being used is the active workbook. The name of the workbook appears in the title bar. I haven't named it anything, so it defaulted to Book 1 on the one we're looking at here on the screen. Each workbook is made up of individual sheets. I only have one sheet so far in this one. Each sheet is identified by a sheet name, which is displayed in the Sheet tab. Excel supports two kinds of sheets, worksheets and chart sheets. A worksheet contains data laid out in a grid of rows and columns, and a chart sheet contains a visual representation of spreadsheet data, such as a pie chart or a column chart. Charts can be embedded within worksheets, so you can view both the data and the chart in one sheet. Each workbook can contain multiple worksheets and chart sheets. You can add sheets to a workbook as needed. Rows and columns is how it's laid out. It's laid out in rows and columns. Row headers identify each row with a number ranging from 1 to 1,048,576. Column headers identify each column with a letter. The first 26 are columns A through Z. After Z, the next is AA, AB, AC, and so forth, until you reach the last possible column, which is labeled XFD. Rows and columns intersect in a single cell. All data entered into a worksheet is placed in cells. Each cell is identified by a cell reference, which indicates its column and row location. For example, B6 would be right here. It's where column B and row 6 intersect. So we've started Excel. We have Alright, we're going to go to computer, we're going to browse. It's not responding. Let's give it just a second. Okay. I'm going to go to my desktop. I have my chapter 13 folder out there. I'm just going to drop it into that folder so I'll know where it is. And we're going to name it Mod Art Inventory. And hit save. Okay. Notice that my name is updated when it goes back to my sheet. Okay. Moving around, the cell in which you're currently working is the active cell. Excel distinguishes the active cell by outlining it with a green box. Okay. The cell reference for the active cell appears in the name box, which is right here. It shows you B6 is my active cell in the name box. You can also move to a specific cell by typing its cell reference in the name box and pressing the enter key. So if I click here and I tell it I want to go to E4 and hit enter, my active cell will be moved to that cell. Also there on page 425 there at the top in that little chart, it shows you how you can move around with the arrow keys, up, down, right and left arrow keys will move you around. Control Home will always take you to A1. Control End will take you to the last cell in the worksheet. Enter down one row to the start of the next row. Tab one column to the right. Shift Tab takes you one column to the left. Page up and page down will move you up or down a screen in your data, and control page up or control page down to the previous or next sheet in the workbook. Okay. So if we play with that just a little bit more, if you're in your worksheet area, of course your pointer changes to the open plus sign. We're going to make sure we're in cell A1. Then we're going to click on cell A5. And you'll notice that your active cell becomes A5. We're going to press the Tab key, which takes you to B5. Press the Page Down key. And it moves down one full screen to B28. Click the name box. Put in D4 and hit Enter. That takes you back to D4 as your active cell. Press the Enter key, and that takes you to D5. Press the Control Home key. That takes you back to A1. Okay, so that's a little bit of how to navigate. New workbooks contain one worksheet named Sheet 1. If you need more worksheets, you can add them. When you add a new worksheet, it's named with the next consecutive number, such as Sheet 2. You can also delete unneeded worksheets that were added to the workbook. Alright, so to the right of Sheet 1, hit the New Sheet tab. Okay. A new worksheet named Sheet 2 is inserted. Click the New Sheet button again. Alright, so you have a new one that's Sheet 3 that's inserted to the right of Sheet 2. So right click Sheet 3. We decided we don't need 3 sheets, we only need 2. So right click on it, hit delete, and you go back to you have Sheet 1 and Sheet 2. That's how easy it is to add and delete sheets. Alright, the sheet currently displayed in the workbook window is the active sheet. It's the sheet tab that has a green border around it. It's a sheet tab where it's dark green. It's not the title's not grayed out. Right now Sheet 2 is active. I can click Sheet 1 to make it the active sheet. So that's how you switch between your sheets. You just click the Sheet tab and it makes it the active sheet. You can just switch between them back and forth. Okay? Alright, to rename a sheet, the default workbooks, of course, names them Sheet 1, Sheet 2, and so forth. But you can give it descriptive names. So if we double click Sheet 1, we can rename it Inventory. Okay? Press Enter after you enter the name. You can double click Sheet 2 and name it Documentation. And press the Enter key, and you've renamed your 2 sheet tabs. Alright, you can change the placement of the sheets in a workbook. A good practice is to place the most important sheets at the beginning of the workbook to furthest to the left, and less important sheets toward the end are the rightmost tabs. The quickest way to move a sheet is to drag its sheet tab to the new location. So click your documentation sheet, but don't release the mouse button, and the pointer will change to a little piece of paper. And then drag left until the small black triangle is at the left edge of the inventory sheet, and then release the mouse to move your documentation sheet to the beginning. So see the little triangle on the sheet of paper. When I let go, documentation is going to be in front of inventory. Okay? Alright, make sure you save everything at this point. Just hit Control S. You enter data by typing into the active cell. When you finish typing, you need to press the Enter or Tab key or click the Enter button to complete the data entry. The Enter button is up here at the top of your sheet. It's grayed out right now, but it's up here. You could hit that to finalize your data being placed into the cells. As you enter data into the worksheet, it appears in both the active cell and in the formula bar. This is your formula bar right here. It displays the contents of your active cell, which can be data or it can be, as you'll see later on, underlining formulas used to create a calculated value. Text data is the combination of letters, numbers, and symbols that form words and sentences. When you enter text data into a cell, the text is left aligned unless you change it. When creating a worksheet, you should make sure its intent and content are clear to others. One way to do this is to create a documentation sheet, which documents why you entered created the workbook and what it contains. It is also a good way to relay the workbook's purpose and contents to others with whom you share the workbook. Alright. The documentation sheet shown in Exhibit 13-7 on page 428 includes the text data with the company name and the worksheet's author, the current date, and the worksheet's purpose. So we're going to go and create our documentation sheet. So in the documentation sheet, in cell A1, type mod art. Alright, notice that as you type, the information appears in the cell and in the formula bar. Alright, press the Enter key. The text is entered and the active cell should move down to A2. Press the Enter key again to move to A3. Type author and then hit Tab. You've moved to cell B3. Type your name and then press Enter. Okay. It jumped around a little bit with me. I hit the wrong thing on my computer. Alright, so type your name and press Enter. It moves to A4 as your active cell. Type date and then press Tab. No. I pressed Enter and it went to B4. We wanted to be A4. So we need to be here. And put in date. And then press Tab. The text is entered and the active cell becomes B4, where you will later enter the date you created the workbook. We're going to go to A5 and put in purpose and press Tab. We're now in B5. Type to record current inventory. And press Enter. Click the Inventory Sheet tab to make it the active sheet. Cell A1 should be your active cell. Type inventory date. And press Enter. The label is entered in the cell and A2 becomes your active cell. Although it looks like the text you type extends to cell B1, it all ends in A1. We'll learn how to adjust the borders for your columns later. Alright, enter the following column labels in row 2, pressing the tab after each entry. In cell A2, we're going to put artist. B2, title. C2 is inventory. D2 is unit cost. And E2 is inventory value. Wow, my computer's jumping around. Okay. Click cell A3 when finished. Alright. In A3, we're going to type Dolly. We're going to move over to the next cell and type the disintegration of the persistence of memory. And then we're going to press enter. We're going to enter the following items in cells A4 through B7. They're on page 429 in your book, step 14. Okay, so we need to get all of this entered in and saved. Alright, so yours should look similar to this or similar to figure 13-8 on page 429. Now we're going to learn to format our text in our sheets. Formatting text involves changing fonts, font sizes, font styles, and color. The text formatting options are the same as those you worked with in Word. They are available in the font group on the Home tab. Okay, so make the documentation sheet your active sheet and A1 your active cell. On the Home tab in the font group, click the font box arrow and then choose Calibri Light Headings. I'm having a delay in my machine. It's slow. And it's jumping around to where it wants to go. I don't know. It's acting up today. Alright. Right here, Calibri Light Headings. The company name in cell A1 will change to the Calibri Light font, the default headings font in the current theme. Okay, mine didn't change. Select your text. And then make sure it's changed to that Calibri Light. And then in the size, give it 24. In the font group, click the bold button and the company name is formatted in bold. Alright, I'm going to have to give it some more room right here so that you can see it. Let's see. Alright. Alright. Now, in the standard colors section in the font group, click the font color button and display the theme in standard colors, and then choose the dark blue colors. Okay, so go here, and we want dark blue. Remember to use the screen tip to identify the correct color, which it popped up when I skimmed over it. And the company the name will be changed to a dark blue color. Alright, date data is commonly recognized formats for date and time values. When you enter a date in a cell such as April 15, 2016, Excel interprets it as a date and not as text and formats it appropriately. You can enter dates in any of the standard formats, including the following. It shows you if you can enter it as 4/6/2016, 4/6/16, 4-6-2016, April 6, 2016, 6 the abbreviation for April-16, and Excel will know it's a date and format it. Okay, so with our inventory sheet, our active sheet, we want to go to cell B1. Okay, and it looks like that it says date, but you can see in the formula bar that the cell is empty. So type in March 26th. We're going to do 2014 because this is not 2016. So we're going to do March 22nd, 2014. And then press Tab. The date you typed appears in the cell, but it's reformatted as 22-MAR-14. Alright, now that there is a date in the cell B1, the excess text in cell A1 cannot overflow any longer. So we're going to click cell B1, and in the formula bar, the value is now 3/22/2016. Make the documentation sheet your active sheet, and in cell B4, type today's date and press the Enter key. Alright, the date appears in one of the two default date formats depending on the format in which you entered it. Okay? Because Excel stores dates and times as numbers and not as text, you can apply different formats without affecting the date and time value. The format that is applied when you enter a date using numbers and slashes is the short date format, and the long date format displays the day of the week and the full month name in addition to the day of the month and the year. Alright, so make the inventory sheet your active sheet again. Click cell B1 to make it active. On the Home tab in the number group, the number format box displays custom. In the number group, click the number format arrow to display commonly used number formats. Go down and click short date. And your formatting is changed to show the short date of 3/22/2014. Alright, number data is any numerical value that can be used in a mathematical calculation. In Excel's numbers can be integers, decimals, or negatives. Excel treats a currency value such as $87.25 as the number 87.25, and a percentage such as 95% as the decimal 0.95. By default, numbers are right aligned. Click cell C3. Type 28 and then use the Enter key to enter the data. Okay? The inventory quantity for the dolly print is entered in cell C3. In the number format box in the number group on the Home tab, General is selected. Now that all C3 contains data, the cell C3 contains data, the excess overflow from B3 cannot be seen. Click cell D3 and type $4.81. And then click the formula bar enter button. In the formula bar, the value is 481 without the $sign, and in the number format box is currency. The currency format was automatically applied because you typed the $sign. In cell C4, type 17, and then press the tab key. Oh, wait. I put that in the wrong row. We wanted to go to C4, and we want to put in the inventory of 17, and the cost is $5.10. Don't use the number sign. $5.10, and accept it. It gives it general format instead of currency. We're going to change that to currency. Okay. So we're going to enter the rest of the inventory for values for cells C5 through D7. So here we've got 34 and $6.14. We've got 6 and $8.92. And 29 and $4.12. Alright, so now it should look something like this. Your inventory sheet should. Save all your changes up until this point. Okay. You can format values using number format, which displays the values in a way that makes them easier to understand and interpret, as you have already seen with the currency values in D3. Changing the number format has absolutely no effect on the value stored in the workbook. Excel formats numbers in the general format, which for the most part displays values exactly as they are typed in by the user. To make numbers easier to interpret, you can set how many digits appear to the right of the decimal point, add commas to act as thousand separators, include currency symbols to identify monetary values, and display percentages using the percent symbol. The most common numbering formats are accounting, currency, number, and percentage. Alright, so we're going to format a little bit more. I'm going to play with this a little bit more. So in cell D4, we've already changed it to currency. But if we go to D4 and we use comma style, it takes our $sign away. Okay? If we go and change it to accounting number format, it is accounting, and we can give it the $sign back, and see how it puts the separation there? Alright, let's do this again and give it accounting. Alright. You have what you call Format Painter that you can use with this. You can also decrease and increase your decimals. So if I go here, I can increase my decimal amount or decrease my decimal amount. Alright. I'm going to go to Format Painter on my clipboard with D3 active. I'm going to go and hit Format Painter. And then I'm going to click I'm going to click this cell here. I'm going to click cell D5 so that it paints my format. Okay. Another thing you can do is grab that handle and it paints everything. Alright. We don't want to do that. So let's do the format painter all the way down. You can give everything the same. Alright. Then hit Control S and save it up until this point. And it should look something like what's on the screen, or Exhibit 3-12 on page 433. So we went from currency to accounting format and gave it the $sign, accounting number format with a $sign. Okay? And then of course we can increase and decrease decimals here with these two formatting buttons as well. To edit cell content, you will double click the cell. The formatting will disappear from the cell and the insertion point is blinking in the cell. And then you press the right arrow key as many times as necessary to move the insertion point to the end of the cell. And then press the backspace key to delete the information and type in something new. So we're going to go to D6. We're going to move over here. We're going to backspace and take out 92 and change it to 86. And then press enter. The formatting returns and the value has been changed. To select columns and rows, you can click the column header and the entire column will be selected. So if we hit here, all of column A is selected. You can press and hold the shift key, click column C, and columns A through C is selected. You can hit the control key, press column F, and now A, B, C, and F is selected, D and E is not. Control allows you to select non-adjacent columns. Alright, if we want to select rows, we can click the row 2 header and it selects row 2. We can hold the shift and select 4. 1 through 4 is selected. We can hold control and select 7 and you have non-adjacent selected again. Alright, so that's how you can do selections of entire rows and columns. Another option we have is an auto fit. Auto fitting eliminates empty space by matching the column to the width of its longest cell entry or a row to the height of its tallest entry. Or you can click the borders of rows and columns and drag them. Alright, so change column width. So we'll point to the right border of column B till our arrow changes. We're going to drag to the right until the screen tip identifies the width of the column as 25 characters. So see right here we have the width of the column. Alright, the width of the column here is set to right at 9 characters, and we're going to drag it over until it's right at 25 characters. Okay. Don't release the mouse just yet. When you want to look at your exhibit 13-13 to see if it looks right. It should be width of 25 characters, 180 pixels. Release the mouse button and the width expands. And all the titles in column B except the title in cell B3 fit and are now visible. We're going to point to the right border of column A until its pointer changes. We're going to double click, which lets it auto fit. Okay? It fits to the widest set of characters for that column, which is your inventory date. We're going to drag the right border of column D to the right until the column width changes to 12 characters. We're going to select column E. And on the Home tab in the Sales group, click the Format button, and a menu command will open. Alright. Sales group. And click the Format button. Click Auto Fit Column Width. And then click anywhere in the worksheet to deselect. Okay. So now it should look something like what you see here on the screen after we've adjusted widths for everything. Alright, we're going to talk about inserting columns and rows. We're going to click cell C1. And in the Sales group, click the Insert button. And click Insert Sheet Columns. Okay. The menu closes and a new column C is inserted, and everything else has been moved to the right. And this column has the same width as the column to its left. Click cell C2 and type item number. And then press enter. The new column is labeled item number, and the cell 3 is now C3 is now active. Enter the following values. They're on page 436 in step 4 to enter the item numbers. Okay. And then auto fit column C. Let's just go up here to your pointer changes. Well, and auto fit your data. Click row 2. Entire row is selected. On the Home tab, click the Insert button. A new row is inserted, and the remaining rows shift down. Alright. So it should be like this, and you got a new empty row that's been added above your artist title, etc. Alright, adding new data to a workbook is common, as it is removing old, erroneous data. Alright, you can remove data in 2 ways. Clearing removes data from a worksheet but leaves blank cells. Deleting removes both the data and the cells from the worksheet. So we're going to click row 7, it's row header, so that row 7 is selected. We're going to press the delete key. And then the values are cleared from the row, and row 7 remains selected. On the Home tab in the Sales group, click the Delete button. Now the row has been deleted and everything shifts up to make a new row 7. Save everything at this point. Alright. A group of cells is called a cell range or a range. Ranges can be either adjacent or non-adjacent. We've already looked at selecting adjacent and non-adjacent rows and columns, which means they're either side by side or they're not. A range reference indicates the location and size of a range. For adjacent ranges, the range reference specifies the location of the upper left and lower right cells in the rectangular box separated by a colon. The range reference for non-adjacent ranges separates each adjacent range reference by a semicolon. Okay, and it gives you some examples there on page 437 of that. But let's select a range. If we go to cell A1, alright, so click A1, don't release the mouse. This will be your upper left corner cell, and drag your pointer to cell F7. And then release the mouse. The cells you drag over are shaded, except for A1, and surrounded by a green box. Cell F7 is the cell in the lower right corner, so your range is A1 to F7. The first cell you clicked remains white to indicate that it is the active cell in the sheet. Click any cell in the worksheet to deselect the range. Now select the adjacent range A3 through A7. Okay. Press and hold the Control key and select the range D3 through E7. Now you have a set of non-adjacent ranges selected. Click any cell in the worksheet to deselect the ranges. Okay. Moving and copying a cell or a range. Alright, so you can, let's select A1 through B1. Move the pointer over the bottom border of the selected range so that the pointer changes to the four-sided arrow there. Press and hold the mouse button to change the pointer to an open arrow, and then drag the selection down 8 rows, but do not release the mouse button. But do not select the mouse button. Alright. But do not release the mouse. A screen tip appears indicating the new range reference will be A9 and B9. When the screen tip displays the A9, B9, release the mouse. The selected cells move to the new location. Make sure the range A9 and B9 is selected. On the Home tab in the clipboard group, click the Cut button. In the clipboard group, click the Paste button. Excel will paste the contents. Okay, click A1, click Paste, and it's removed back up to A1 and B1. So let's do that one more time. I know that's a little confusing. You got it selected, your pointer changes, you drag it down here somewhere, and you've moved it. Alright, with it still selected, hit Cut, choose where you want it to go, click Paste, and it's moved again. Okay? Save everything up to this point. Inserting and deleting a cell or a range. Alright, so select range B3 through C4. B3, C4. Okay? On the Home tab in the Cells group, click the Insert button arrow. Click Insert Cells. You have this little box that pops up. And it says Insert dialog box opens. The Shift Cells Down option button is selected because this is the most likely action you will take for selected range. Click OK. The dialog box closes and 4 cells are inserted and the selected cells move down 2 rows. Make sure the range B3 through C4 is still selected. In the Cells group, click the Delete arrow and then hit Delete Cells. the dialog box will open. The Shift Cells Up option is selected by default, and then click OK, and it goes back to the way it was. Okay, so now we have everything added like we want it. We're going to wrap the text in C4 instead of making the column wider. See, if we made the column wider, how odd it would look. So we're going to make this text wrap instead. So make B4 your active cell. On the Home tab in the Alignment group, click the Wrap Text button. Okay, so that fixes that formatting problem. It makes the text wrap so that it's all visible within the cell without having to make the column wider. Now we're going to talk about entering a formula. A formula is a mathematical expression that returns a value. In most cases, this is a number, although it can be text or a date. Every Excel formula begins with an equal sign followed by an expression that describes the operation to be done. A formula is written using operators that combine different values, returning a single value that is then displayed in the cell. The most commonly used operators are your arithmetic operators for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, or exponentiation. Okay, some examples are there on page 441 and 13-22. We're going to go to cell F4, make it our active cell, and in cell F4 we're going to type the equal sign to begin our formula. After the equal sign, type D so that the formula looks like equal D, and a list of Excel function names starting with the letter D will appear. We're going to type 4, which marks the cell D4 for you. The function list will close, and your cell D4 is highlighted. We're going to put in the multiplication symbol, and we're going to type E4. Now, cell E4 is surrounded by our light red border, shading it off, showing that it is selected as well. We're going to press the Enter key, and it puts in our value and formats it as accounting to match our accounting there in E4. Okay. In cell F5, we're going to type equals. We're going to click D4 to select it, put in our multiplication, and click E5. And that puts in the formula as well. You can lock it in right here with your Enter key. But as you see, it's the active cell. Your formula is showing here in the formula bar. Okay. Now we're going to copy a formula. So we're going to make F4 our active cell. We're going to click the copy button. And the formula is copied to the clipboard. And a blinking border is around F4. We're going to click cell F6. And we're going to click the paste button. Alright, Excel paste it in, but it updates to use cells D6 and E6. Okay, we're going to make this one active, F7 active, and then we're going to paste again, and it updates as well. Then we're going to press the escape key to take that blinking border out from around the formula cell that we copied. And we're going to save our contents. In addition to cell references and operators, formulas can also contain functions. A function is a named operation that replaces the action of an arithmetic expression. Functions are used to simplify formulas. For example, to add the values in a range A1 through A9. Okay? or to sum up A1 through A9. So we're going to click cell D8 to make it active. We're going to type equals. We're going to type sum. We're going to type a paren. We're going to select the range D4 through D7. We're going to type the closing paren. The blinking box is now solid blue. Alright, we're going to press the tab key to lock in that formula. If you click back on D8, you can see your sum formula here in the bar. So you've added up or summed D4 through D7 and put the value into D8. There is a function called AutoSum, which inserts one of 5 common functions in a range reference that Excel determines by examining the layout of the data and choosing the most likely range. Alright, so if we click cell F8 on the Home tab in the Editing group, click the AutoSum button, which is here. It's going to try to take the values from that column and sum them, which is what we want it to do. So just press enter and let that value be placed there. Okay. So there's some more auto sum functions. You have the sum, which we just did. You have average, which will average the values in a column or row. We have count, which will total count of numeric values in the column or row. Max, which will give you the max volume in a max value in the column or row, or min, which will give you your min values in your column and row. So let's save everything up until this point. Previewing and printing. We're not going to print because you're going to actually send me your workbook file. But you can view a worksheet in 3 ways: normal, page layout, and page break, which are preview buttons. Normal view, the Excel view that shows the contents of the current sheet. Page layout view, the Excel view that shows how the current sheet will look when printed. And page break preview, the Excel view that displays the location of page breaks within the worksheet. So on the right end of the status bar, click the page layout button. And then it will show it in page layout view. Alright, it's not showing. I don't have room for it to show my page layout. Let's go here to page layout. Alright, the data will appear on 2 pages. Alright, page layout. If we go to page layout, your page layout will show how it looks printed. But it's not giving me my buttons here. Here we go. We've got to reduce it where you can see it. Here's the page layout button. I just couldn't see it with it full screened. My bar was covering it up. Alright, so hit page layout. Then we can full screen once more. Your page layout will show your data on 2 pages. On the status bar, click the page break preview button. and it switches to a view that shows only those parts of the current worksheet that will print, and the dotted blue line separates one page from another. Change the zoom to 100 or around about so that you can see that better. Make the documentation worksheet the active sheet. And it's still in normal view. Make the inventory sheet your active sheet and put it back into normal view. Okay? So that's how you change your views. To change the orientation, you can adjust the worksheet so that it prints on a single page. The simplest way to accomplish this is to change your page orientation. So if we go to the Page Layout tab, click the Orientation button, and choose Landscape. And then we're going to preview the workbook for printing. So go to the File tab, and we will go to Print, and it shows it in the printing area. Okay. At the top of the column in the Copies box, make sure 1 appears. We're not going to print, but you would just hit my printer is even offline, but you would hit the print button and print your copies. You can do the print active sheets, or you can choose print entire workbook or print selection, so you can choose what you print. And here you can do next and previous pages if you had more than one page to view. We are going to save our workbook at this point, and that completes the lecture for chapter 13 in your book, how to create a workbook. So let me know if you have any questions on this before you move into more difficult actions with Excel. This is just an overview of how to create and enter data. Create a workbook and enter data into it. So let me know if you guys have any questions.